Welcome to the Rock Your World Naturally podcast, the place where women from around the world come to discover God's plan for health in body, soul, and spirit. I'm your host, Rakesia McMillan, award-winning author, Air Force veteran, and health evangelist. I'm passionate about sharing biblical truth, scientific research, and practical lifestyle approaches to help heal your world naturally. You're listening to podcast episode 10, my exclusive interview with Candace Paul, award-winning author and owner of A Knowing Spirit, LLC. In this interview, she'll share her 15-day water fast experience and upcoming book. I'm your host, Rakesia McMillan, certified integrative nutrition health coach and health evangelist. My assignment to the body of Christ is to help women and communities heal their world naturally in spirit, soul, and body. If you'd like to know more about how you can heal your world naturally, you can visit me on the web at rockyourworldnaturally.com, on Facebook, facebook.com/rockyourworldnaturally, on Twitter, rockyourworld28, and on LinkedIn, Rock Your World Naturally. Thank you so much to all of our new and returning listeners. I have an amazing show that is lined up for our audience on today. About 2 months ago, I was in prayer about hosting a show about prayer and fasting. And lo and behold, God answered that prayer and made the divine connection with our guest today, Candace Paul. And not only is she an award-winning author, she is a successful business owner, but she is thoroughly rooted and grounded in the Lord. And I am so looking forward to sharing the 15-day water fast experience that she had so that she can unlock and share some revelation that God provided to her during that amazing experience. But before we get into that, I just want to share a little bit about who Candace is. Candace Paul is a professional artist and writer. Her debut novella, Spiritual Warfare, was an Amazon bestseller in religious science fiction and fantasy. In addition to working as a creative, Candace helps other authors navigate the complicated publishing process. Her company, A Knowing Spirit, LLC, offers a host of editing, writing, and marketing services. Her goal is to continue to write stories that encourage readers to find their purpose and grow closer to God. A Knowing Spirit, LLC, is a Christian publishing company that's much more than publishing. They build communities, networks, and offer a welcoming place on the internet for anyone in need of support and guidance. It's simply a place to better understand and strengthen your faith. The Spiritual Warfare series featured on aknowingspirit.com is a compelling story about unseen spiritual battles. Book 1 is about a shrewd businesswoman who is unknowingly at the center of a spiritual tug of war. Jade, a demon sent back to earth on a mission, desperately wants her soul, but so does God, who sends a heavenly being back to earth in an attempt to save her. In the midst of all this, she must make an important decision that could impact the entire world. In Book 2, Jade manages to escape Satan's wrath and is allowed to continue his mission on earth a while longer. Now, 4 years later, Jade has his eyes set on a much more ambitious agenda, the 2020 presidential election. Although the book is fiction, it's about a very real spiritual concept, spiritual warfare. Book 1 shows the tactics Satan uses, and Book 2 shows how the plans are executed on earth. The book explores the corruption of our political system, secret societies and orders, the media, social programming, and the choices each of us make that upholds the system or attempts to dismantle it. Still, through all the chaos and darkness, we see that the faithful are never forgotten. The sequel's official release date is on October the 15th, 2019. The book is available for pre-order at getbook.at/rise to power. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our show award-winning author and owner of A Knowing Spirit LLC, Miss Candace Paul. Welcome to the show, Candace.
I am so glad to be here, Miss McMillan. This is an honor. So thank you for
Oh,
having me.
I am excited to have you today, and I am just looking forward to having an awesome interview with you. And I'd like to start out with an icebreaker question. And can you let our listeners know what are you doing in your world right now that is rocking your world naturally?
Wonderful question. I am at this point focusing on my physical health. So I'm trying to get back into the gym and work out more. I want to start going to the gym maybe 3 times a week and start getting into some classes where it's fun, exercising, dancing. So I want to do more of that. So I've already changed the diet stuff up. So now it's the physical work that I want to do.
Good for you. And you hit on a key word when you said fun. I
Yes,
know even as a health coach, that sometimes is one of the challenges, people finding that motivation to uh, get the exercise, get that activity into their lives. But I always share, finding those exercises that are fun, something that you enjoy so that it doesn't feel like you're exercising, but you're
absolutely.
doing something good for the body.
Absolutely. And that's one of the goals, definitely.
Wow. So some of the things that I have been taking a look at, and I had the opportunity to review your website at aknowingspirit.com.
Yeah.
And I found the trailer to your upcoming book.
And what did you think?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. It really captured my attention. Just the cover of the book, the music, just the whole thing was just kind of just so intriguing, just to draw you in.
Wonderful.
And I think that so many times with spiritual warfare that many individuals may not be aware that spiritual warfare is something that we are all battling with, facing on a daily basis. So, how did you get the concept or the idea of writing books on spiritual warfare?
Well, you know, it actually started a few years ago. Um, I remember taking a step back and just, I was watching the news, I think, and I was listening to how the environment is just completely messed up, how we had crossed over the carbon tipping point. Then I was watching the news and listening to all the crime that's going on, and then the wealth gap, and then all the racial tension and all the social issues that are going on. And I'm just like, wait, 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 wait. What is going on? How did we get here? And so around that time, I had been with a church that I really, really liked a lot. And I think we were focusing on the concept of spiritual warfare. And so I thought to myself, what if everything that's happening is because of this? Right.
Mm,
Um, but for me, I'm more of a creative person. And I said, I want to write about this in a way where people who might not be familiar with the Christian faith and these concepts, but a way that will pull them in so they would want to learn more. So
mhm,
I decided to write a story based on the very real concept that a lot of Christians believe in, spiritual warfare. But it's a fictional story and it follows characters who people can relate to, people who are going through daily trials and tribulations like all of us. And you find that the characters are very relatable and in a lot of senses. So that's kind of how it all started.
yeah, and I love the fact that you do make it so relevant to what we are experiencing today because If you turn on the TV, there's so much corruption that you see, whether it's in our political system, whether it's different secret societies, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
through the media. We are just bombarded on every side, with this on a daily basis. And so the idea of bringing it into a creative work through your writing just helps to connect to what's going on a very real basis.
exactly. And there's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. When we look at some of the policies that are being passed and things that people are discussing and working toward, a lot of times it seems as though we're working against our own interest, you
Mhm,
know, and at a certain point, a lot of the greed and things where people are doing certain things or investing in things where
mhm,
it's destroying the benefit for all of us, the
mhm.
environment, the food that we eat, the water that we drink. At a certain point, we have to ask ourselves, why are we working against our own interests? And so
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to talk about in the book. And I focus on a lot of those issues in both book one and two.
Wow. And I think that's so important because, some individuals, whether it's, in the church, sometimes individuals may not agree that believers should be within the political realm. And
Mm,
just from my own personal stance, as well as what I see throughout the scriptures, there were so many leaders that were involved, when it came down to passing laws, instituting those within the community to make sure that they were of benefit to the people. And
mm,
so I am a firm believer that those who are in the faith, those who are of the household of God, need to be able to be in those different political arenas so that when those policies, whether they're passing, will be in favor, of the people, because there is so much darkness, there is so much corruption. So there needs to be some light, within those arenas as well.
absolutely.
Mhm. So not only are you an author who has written award-winning books, you also help individuals who are also interested in writing books. And I know that there's so many people out there that God has given them a God inspired idea to, whether it's to write a book, write a devotional. They may not have the tools, the resources, or the wherewithal to be able to um, write a book. So, share with our listeners how you got into the area of just helping with publishing books.
Absolutely. Well, it what you'll find is when you start going down this road, there are so many pitfalls that you can
Mhm,
fall into. Um,
mhm,
and because there's so much that goes into it and a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't realize. Everything from marketing to editing your book to packaging your book to even getting beta readers, getting people to read, finding reviews, uh, everything. There's so many little details that go into it. And then on top of that, there are a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, yeah, I'll publish your book for you. No problem. Give it to me and I'll publish it." But then they're not doing the work that you need. A publisher provides certain things,
mhm,
direction, provide marketing. They invest in you. And so a lot of times, because people are so excited to get their work out there into the hands of readers, they miss these red flags in a sense.
mhm.
I'll tell you a quick story. Um, a few years ago, I was looking for a publisher, and this lady that I encountered, she said, "Oh yeah, that's." She's like, "I'll take on your work. I'll take on your work." And I was like, "Oh, awesome, awesome." So she tells me for a consultation just to talk to me for 30 minutes. She was saying it would cost about $350 just
Wow.
talk to me. I
Wow.
not to take on my work or anything. And I said, whoa, that seems a little bit expensive. And so she said, well, good luck trying to get published on your own. It might take you 10 years. That's what she said. Right? So interestingly enough, I said, okay, if this is in God's will, he has me. Interestingly
Yes.
enough, I found a publisher who took on my work, invested in me. I paid zero money, and
Mm,
in the rest is history. That's how my first book was out. But after
wow.
being with my publisher for a while, I realized that I have certain skills in which I could do a lot of this on my own. So I decided to start a business. And then I said, this is what I want to do for people. I want to help people get to the point where if they just need a few little things, because sometimes you need someone to edit your work,
Sure.
someone to do a cover design, or maybe help with some marketing aspects. I can help with those things and make it affordable for the person who needs it. So that's what I do. And then the other thing is, if I really like your work, I will invest in you and I will take on your work. And
Mm,
that's what you're supposed to do as a publisher. So, you
wow.
know, if someone needs help and if they're interested in writing and they just want a place to start, come check out my website and we can talk. We'll have a conversation and we'll see where to go from there. Yeah.
I love that. So, listeners, Candace has provided an open invitation for you to reach out to her. So, if you're a pastor, if you're a teacher, if you're just someone out there who has that God inspired dream of becoming a published author, I highly encourage you to reach out to Candace because you will certainly be in good hands.
Absolutely.
Um, Another area, Candace, that I definitely am looking so forward to hearing more about is your 15-day water experience fast.
Yes.
I am a firm believer in prayer and fasting, and I know sometimes when individuals hear that time of or that word fasting, they're like, "Oh Lord, I'm fasting for 1 day, 2 days. You're talking about 15 days." So, share a little bit about how you got there and what your experience was like.
Wow. Okay. So, first of all, just so people understand, before I jumped into the water fast, I did a lot of research before. I was reading a lot about fasting in general and then water fasting and the benefits of it. And then I said, you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll take a chance. I'll go ahead and do it. But the one disclaimer I'll put out there for anyone who's thinking about doing this, consult with the doctor. Talk to your doctor before, because sometimes if you have certain health issues or anything, you have a strict diet, you have certain things that you need to eat. So you want to make sure that you get the okay and you check yourself out. For me, I'm generally healthy. So I decided to take a bit of a chance. But even still, on the third day, I went to the doctor because it just so happened that my scheduled appointment coincided with my fast. So I talked to my doctor about it. I ended up having a conversation, and he said, you know what? You seem okay. All your vitals are good. I wouldn't push it past 15 days, but you're okay. You're okay. And so I was like, okay. So I got okay. But the thing that people should know is that, first of all, we eat a lot more than we need to. And
Mhm.
as a health coach, you probably understand this way more than I do. But we eat a lot of food and we don't need to eat as much as we do. Um, and so really, when I decided to start on the fast, I was at a point where I wanted clarity in my life. I wanted to understand, certain decisions that I was making, get some clarity and direction on what I wanted to do. And I thought that a fast would really help me. So for me personally, I was telling people I'm going to start on this fast. And so I was taking prayer requests. Hey, you need me to pray for this in your life? I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. So this is where the mistake I made.
Mhm.
I was praying for other people in the beginning. And then when it came time to really pray for me and do what I needed to do for myself, I didn't do it. So what ended up
Mhm.
happening was the first 3 days, and they'll tell you this, the first 3 days of a water fast are actually the hardest because you're breaking through those cravings and the desire to eat. But once you
Yeah.
get to the fourth day, you're okay. You can actually see the end. You feel like, okay, I think I can do this. Think I can do this. But what you encounter during the fast is trying to manage your boredom.
Mhm.
And that's really what it is, because what you learn is that, for me personally, eating was less about just eating food for nutrition and, in just for fuel, but it was actually a social thing. I didn't
Mhm.
realize how much I ate with friends, with family, or just even a comfort eater. I was more of a comfort eater as well. Like, oh, okay, so I'm listening to my favorite podcast. I need a snack. Do you need
Yeah.
a snack, Candace? Do you need a snack? No, you don't. And
Yes.
so through the fast, I learned about managing how I ate before, and
Mhm.
how I wasn't eating in a healthy way. I was eating sporadically at different times, randomly, an emotional eater, a comfort eater. And the fast helped me realize that. But the issue that I noticed was, once I stopped praying
Mhm.
um for myself, well, I really wasn't praying for myself at all. Once I stopped praying for other people, it was about counting down the clock. So then I
Mhm.
was just focused on getting through the fast. Oh, I just want to get to the end. I just want to get to the end. And so the one bit of advice I will give anyone who's thinking about fasting is to incorporate prayer with fasting. Absolutely. The entire time through. So make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's such good advice. And in the words of Jesus, when he said some things come about by prayer and fasting, that it's almost kind of like prayer and fasting are inseparable. They are two disciplines that must be practiced together when you're going forward in your fasting, because during that time of prayer, your spirit connects totally to God, and He's speaking to you, He's ministering to you, and He's keeping you full spiritually, which decreases the awareness on what your flesh or what your physical body is wanting or needing.
Yeah.
And so maintaining a prayerful focus throughout fasting is so essential to help you to get through it. um, and I'm so reminded how you said that it increased your awareness that, again, when you're letting go of something physical, God will do something in the supernatural,
Yes.
whether that's increasing or heightening your spiritual awareness. And I always like to refer to the example of Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael in the book of Daniel when they
Yeah.
went on the Daniel fast. And
Mm-hmm.
these men committed their lives to eating a consecrated way before the Lord. And the scriptures say that there was no one in their kingdom that had the level of wisdom, intellectual ability, the insight, or the discernment that Daniel and his friends had. And I
Wow.
truly believe that how we are eating has everything to do with how we flow spiritually. And so many times, I think within the body of Christ, that we totally disconnect our spirituality from our physical eating. But truly, eating, fasting are totally spiritual practices.
And it's all connected, and I totally see that now. I see how important all of that is. And
Hmm.
one of the things that I realized too, one of the breakthroughs, I guess you could say, I had during the fast was filling your time with what's positive. So
Hmm.
I could see, when you're resisting the urge to eat, which is one of the strongest urges we have as human beings, right? When
Hmm.
you're resisting that urge, you find that you could really resist a lot Like
Yeah.
if you really truly focus and you say, I'm not going to do something, you can really put your mind to it and not do it. But what
Yeah.
ends up happening is you have to fill that time with something positive. And
Hmm.
that's where the prayer was super important. And I should have filled my time with that, instead of waiting for the clock to to run
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
but then it spoke to something on a bigger scale as well, because
Yeah.
it's the same thing with anything in life. So if you're trying to resist something or change a habit or
Hmm.
change something in your life, you don't put yourself in a position where you could easily revert back. So for
Sure.
example, I wasn't eating, and a lot of people around me were eating and those type of things. But if my friends wanted to hang out, I'm not saying, hey guys, let's go to a buffet. It's like, let's do
Right.
other things. And so
Sure.
if you think about it like that with life, if you're trying to really accomplish a goal, there's
Yeah.
things that you have to move away from or
Mhm.
change in order to have forward momentum. And
Yeah.
that's what I was seeing in myself. And I was like, oh, wow, I get it now. I see how important it is not to put yourself in a lot of compromising situations if you're trying to move forward in a different direction.
Yeah. That's so,
Yeah.
so good. That is such good, insight into filling that time with positivity. And I believe in the book of Isaiah 58, which I like to call like the fasting chapter,
Mm.
Isaiah really breaks down what a true fast should look like. And within that passage, it talks about while you're fasting, surrounding yourself with positivity in serving others.
Wow.
So he talks about instead of eating, giving your bread to those who are hungry, providing to those who are poor, giving them shelter, clothing them that need clothes. And so, servanthood in fasting is also a part of fasting that we don't talk about as
Wow.
well, but it's part of that surrounding ourselves with that positivity while we're actually fasting.
And that makes perfect sense, because when you're helping others, you're not focused on yourself.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and that makes perfect sense.
Wow. Um, Another thing that, when after you completed the fast, did you find that it was easy to kind of maintain that habit of um, not eating as much? Or tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
after you fasted, what
Yeah.
happened with that?
Yes. And for all the listeners, I have no problem sharing my experience so you can see what not to do. And take away some of the gems, some of the positive things. But this really is a learning experience, and this was a
Yeah.
huge learning experience for me. So what I realized, after the fast, like coming off of the fast, is you really have to have a plan moving forward.
Yeah.
So you need to have a plan for how you want to eat in order to maintain all the benefits that you got during the fast. So after the fast, I had clear thinking. I had lost 26 pounds.
Mm.
I felt energized, and I was like, oh, this is great. I feel really good. So, first of all, in the first couple of days, I probably should have had hmm, raw vegetables, maybe even just a smoothie, something that was very, very light and not anything too heavy in the first couple of days. So for me, I had like vegetables and some things like that. But pretty shortly after, I started moving back into, I was eating healthy for a while, and I started moving back into regular eating habits,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know? And so what ended up happening was I gained like 10 pounds back maybe in like the first month and a half or so, which
Yeah,
isn't too bad. But the idea is to maintain what you accomplished. So
sure.
my suggestion would be moving forward for anyone who wants to do it is get into intermittent fasting. So,
Hmm.
you know, really start to reduce your food intake and fast in small intervals more often. And
Yeah.
it'll help with the weight loss and it'll help for you to maintain what you've accomplished. Um, Also, I realized that my body was in a state of ketosis, which is basically my body was burning fat as energy. That was
Sure.
fuel that was being burned. And the goal is to try and stay in that state for as long as possible. So you want to avoid sugary foods. There,
Yes.
things that are heavy with, carbohydrates and those type of things. So avoid that. So the goal should have been to eat foods that were leafy, green leafy vegetables that are taking
Mhm.
up most of the plate, a little bit of protein, some carbs but very little, and then I needed to have a plan of exercising on a regular basis moving forward to burn this stuff. So
Yeah.
for me, I was doing a little bit, but it wasn't a consistent thing. So
Mhm.
for me, the suggestion would be, if you're going to do this, get off of the fast, have a plan moving forward, and just implement a consistent routine moving forward.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Wow, that's definitely wisdom. There's a saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And
exactly.
so having that plan in place and, learning from our sister's experience will certainly help you if you feel that God is leading you to fast, if you are needing to go on a journey for spiritual clarity, for health benefits. Fasting truly is that pathway to physical, spiritual, mental, emotional well being. So, Candace, if our listeners want to be able to get your books and work with you, where can they find you on the web?
Absolutely. You can find me at a knowingspirit.com, and that is AKNOWING. And you will be able to connect with me. And you can also find me on Twitter and Facebook and on Instagram. I am reachable. Either someone from my team will reach back out to you or it may be me directly. So just reach out.
Outstanding, outstanding. And it has truly been a pleasure having you on the show today, Candace. And again, listeners, I highly encourage you to connect with her. You will truly be blessed by her books and by the work that she is doing as a publisher. So, again, Candace, thank you so much for being on the show today. God bless you. I wish you well
Yeah.
and many, many blessings in your future work.
Thank you so much. And God bless you too.
God bless you, Candace. For health tips, faith based education, and inspiration, visit www.rockyourworldnaturally.com and on Facebook at Facebook.com/rockyourworldnaturally and Twitter at twitter.com/rockyourworld28.